These are two of the biggest AAA releases this year, and both of them are defined by the same problems. There has been a sharp decline in sales across the board for AAA because people just aren't impressed anymore, and that's the part that these companies don't really seem to understand. Is that
the issue also is like a lot of these AAA games, they are making graphical enhancements, but the enhancements are so granular that, I mean, really, people can't really hardly see them. I mean, you're having, and I think that also graphical fidelity is overrated. Stylistic lighting is underrated. Two great games that emphasize this are three, actually. Wuthering Waves, that's the weakest example. My strongest example is Elden Ring. If you actually look at Godfrey, you look at Godric, you look at their character models, they look like shit. They look like absolute garbage. Like the actual fidelity pixel count for a lot of the things in Elden Ring are very mediocre. But because of the lighting, colors, and shading in the game, it looks incredible. And the other one that's very new, that some people said in chat, Where Winds Meet. Incredible, amazing game. Awesome graphics, but the fidelity is very low. But it's made up for because of the lighting, the shading, and the style of the game.
Games don't justify the hardware. The hardware stops selling.
Sure. Yeah,
when the hardware stops selling, the high-end market freezes, and AAA is going to be the first thing to suffocate.
Bring back style? Yeah.
What I think is happening right now, and it's only going to get worse for the AAA industry, is that with these rising hardware prices, especially if they bleed into the next generation of consoles, it's going to effectively put a stop to high-end gaming entirely. They are building a price wall that people cannot climb, and in doing so, they're going to...
I think that you're always going to have high-end gaming be popular, but I do think that the gaming, like high-end PC gaming, it is probably on a timer.
Destroy their own demand. Players do not trust AAA enough to be able to justify a $70.
I think it's like a 15-year, 20-year timer, but it's still a timer.
Or game, let alone a $1,000 console or a $4,000 PC upgrade. And if they're not buying the hardware or the games, well, why would we be interested in the services that are tied to them? What is the point of cloud gaming or subscriptions if the games on those services aren't worth our time? All that I think is actually going to happen is that this market is going to split. They're going to accidentally fuel the rise of AAA even further, which honestly is this industry in its purest form. Smaller teams, lower budgets, higher creativity, more original ideas, and no need to chase higher-end hardware. These games are targeting mid-range or even older systems by design. And when you look at what people are actually playing this year, Expedition 33, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Escape from Duck-Off, Mega Bonk,
I bet you can probably run... Like, I bet a 2080 Ti could run Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 at approaching 60 FPS. Easily.
Welcome to the market!
Yeah, there you go. That's insane. That's ridiculous.
Even Stellar Blade and Arc Raiders don't need a 5090 to run well.
Arc Raiders
can get everything they want without buying any of this high-end hardware at all.
Oh.
The funny thing is, when you zoom out on all this, there really is only two futures that are ahead of us right now. One is the one that the corporations want, and the one is the one, well, players are actually moving towards right now. The corporate one is
I actually do think that there will be a growing demand for cloud gaming. I do think so, and I think that cloud gaming for a casual player will actually be a solution that has a large, sizable audience, and I think that that audience over time will eclipse PC and also console gaming.
Let's get moving.
I think that it will probably always be mobile gaming that will be the biggest one because everybody has a phone and it's a common denominator. But after that, you're probably going to have cloud gaming be the most popular of the three because of its accessibility and the lower price point that it's going to have.
Obvious expensive hardware that nobody can buy. Cloud gaming is the affordable alternative. Subscriptions stacked on top of subscriptions. Ads baked straight into the experience. A world where every part of gaming is metered, tracked, monetized, and controlled.
Oh boy.
That is the endpoint that these guys have been building.
Yeah, Hardware Labs, this is about to say NVIDIA.
Because in that future, they own everything, we own nothing. But there's been another future that's been forming underneath their feet this entire time. And it's one that these guys just haven't planned for. It's a future built by AA studios and mid-tier teams that have been making incredible games that run on any hardware that people actually own. A future where the most popular game doesn't require a $4,000 rig or a $1,000 console. A future where creativity outperforms fidelity, where studios that are willing to take a risk end up defining the industry more than the one.
Creativity has always outperformed fidelity, by the way. You want to know the best example of that? Minecraft.
That are burning $500
People just didn't
million
realize
on
it.
another forgettable game.
Yep.
And I really think that this entire thing should terrify these AAA publishers. They should not be trying to lead into it. If these players stop upgrading, if they stop buying into high-end, then AAA is the one that becomes an endangered species.
That's true.
The budget stop.
That's actually a very good point, is that, yeah, AAA gaming and its necessity, it does rely on continually increasing the quality of products, or the quality of the systems.
Making sense. The audiences shrink. And the only people that are going to be left thriving are the teams that never needed cutting-edge hardware to begin with. Because at the end of the day, we're the ones that decide where this industry goes. And if the industry starts building a future that we don't want, well, we simply just walk away.
Yep.
I have a strong feeling that outside of Grand Theft Auto 6, if it actually releases, next year is probably going to play out just the same as this year. There's just not going to be a lot of...
I think he's right. I think we're going to have a number of dark horse, incredibly very good indie games, and I think that those indie games will keep gaming going, but it doesn't look like there's any AAA game that's coming out next year, except for like maybe a handful, that are like super amazing.
Winners in AAA. I mean, more than half of the nominees for Game of the Year this year were all independent or indie studios. And that's not just, oh, these are just
Wolverine
awards. No, these are also some of the most beloved games by players and also some of the highest selling games that we've seen all year. And that's going to leave these guys with not a lot of other options. I know some people are probably going to say, oh, well, then they'll just start making AA games themselves. They'll just stuff these services with AA and they'll stuff them with indie games, but that really doesn't make a lot of sense.
That doesn't make sense. Yeah, of course not. The reason why they're AA is because the studios don't have the resources to make a AAA game. Like, that's the reason.
What is the point of your subscription service or your cloud service if, one, I have the hardware, so I can play those games regardless anyway, and two, those games are cheap to begin with.
Yeah.
Why would I want to pay $30 a month plus to be able to play games that I can buy for $15 to
Yeah, it's like $5, exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, Game Pass, I know right now, is about $30. I can guarantee you it's probably going to climb to 35 or even 45 next year. Who knows how that's going to go. And that's more than most people spend on video games in a month. It just doesn't make any sense. Nobody needs it. I don't need it. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, it's very,
this
very
is
high.
an incredibly
and I think also the other thing too is that, like, you're going after an audience that, if the price point is too high, doesn't exist. Because the people that have a lot of free time probably don't have a lot of disposable income, and the people that have a lot of disposable income probably don't have a lot of free time. So the ubiquitous nature of, oh my god, you can play 150 games, these are people who struggle to finish one game. So, like, where is your, like, what is your actual market here? I don't know.
Dangerous path for the games industry to
That's a problem with subscriptions.
And it's also something that they really shouldn't be supporting. I just don't see a lot of movement in the market. And helping to push those prices even higher, you're going to starve yourself. Because I just don't see a lot of people that are chasing some of these new releases. Sure, we've seen some movement, we've seen some buzz, but I don't know if you guys have noticed this. With a lot of these AAA games, the minute that they come out, the hype around them dies. You just stop here.
When was the last AAA game? I guess like Battlefield 6 did really well. Besides that, when was the last AAA game that came out that was like a success? I mean, Ghost of Yotai was decent. Yeah. Arc Raiders? Would you say Arc Raiders is a AAA game? I wouldn't. I didn't classify it as that personally. Wukong? I feel like, yeah, but it's a Chinese studio. It's a different grading. It's a different grading mechanism.
Hearing about them entirely. Battlefield 6, I think it's probably the only one that I could point to this year that has actually kind of survived for the most part. But Monster Hunter Wilds, that game is absolutely fantastic. They haven't been able to sell. I don't even know if they've even sold another million copies past the first 10 that they sold in that 1 month. That is crazy.
I mean, the game Monster Hunter Wilds, it just has so many problems, right? I mean, we could get into it, but yeah.
That is not good. That is not good. And when we're starting to see equipment dive off the cliff like this, you're going to have to come down to meet those players. If you're not willing to do that, you're in a lot of trouble. Let me tell you that right.
Well,
I'm curious.
You're not going to be able to make your money back because your activatable market, your market is not large enough in order for you to make your money back. It's very simple. Like, I remember I learned this. It sounds stupid, but like I learned this when I was making gauntlets in Burning Crusade as a blacksmith. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, how many people really want these? How many people are there really that can buy these? And like the amount of money that I'm investing into this, am I really going to, you know, if you take this fixed cost and you amortize this out of, you know, or you know, like spread it over, you know, the amount of different items that you would need to sell in order to make the money back, you're never actually going to make the money back out of this. And like eventually I think that they're going to hit that same point too, is that the activatable market will be so low that you can't even, there's not even a business model that's a winning business model. It just doesn't work.
To know what hardware you guys use. I want to know what people are actually using. Because I can see a Steam survey, and I talk to people in our community Discord. If you guys don't engage in our community Discord, you should. It's a group of absolutely fantastic people, but most people there are on lower end hardware. A lot of people that I know outside of myself, the only reason why I have a rig as great as I have or as expensive as I have is because of all the work I do with editing and recording and all that stuff. Outside of that, I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't get it. Are you kidding me?
True.
I'd be playing on something else entirely. I'd probably still be playing on the 2080 or 3080 that I have behind me.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where all this stuff goes. The one thing that I find really interesting about this, if you're a AAA publisher or if you're just a bigger publisher in the games industry at all, I would be really interested to see how they feel about a company like Microsoft having the influence that they have right now, because they're making the industry incredibly uncomfortable for a lot of these other companies, just as a byproduct of what they're doing on their AI side. All the investments that they're making, all the money that they're putting into.
I mean, yeah, of course they're going to focus on AI because, like, making video games, like, the problem is, like, the ceiling for AI right now is theoretically infinite, but the ceiling for selling video games is finite. And I think that they've been at that ceiling for a while. So obviously they're going to go into something else.
All of these different data centers and things like that, the increasing of prices of hardware specifically pretty much across the board, that becomes a threat for a lot of these other companies. So I'm wondering what their perspective on this is. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Kick, follow me on Twitter. And make sure you guys come back later this week. I think I have like 2 more videos that I have to do this week. This one just kind of popped out of nowhere, and I was like, I gotta talk about this. But anyway, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
I feel like this is going to be a big one, and I think it's going to continue getting worse over time too.
Guys,
for pricing until you have affordable cloud gaming, I think pricing is just going to get harder and harder. I don't think that you're going to see RAM prices or any of that go down anytime soon, because again, I don't really see these companies trying to change trying to change anything else, right? They're probably just not going to do that just because of something very short. So yeah, Amazon probably has the same logic chasing AI, which is why they're letting Twitch run wild. I think that's probably true. I do. I think it's probably true. And they don't really care. And I think that really this is the holy grail for all of these tech companies, is to approach AI and to have a foothold in the AI ecosystem. And if they're able to do that, then they're going to be having a great time. They're going to be having an amazing time, a great time, and they're going to be fucking trillionaires. But if they don't do that, then they could go the way of Yahoo, right? Do you want to be Yahoo? No, you don't. So I think that's really the big reason why. And money printers eventually? Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, anyway, give the video a sub, give Legendary Drops a like. This is a really good video, and I think he's talking about this. Again, I think that there are a lot of just logistical and structural reasons why this is happening. And I think realistically, like an overnight price increase, I mean, how much RAM can you realistically make, right? Because you have a whole supply chain that has to change because of this thing. It's hard to do that, really. Have you checked your Twitch recap? No, I haven't. The first time, I felt like actually something outside of gaming with some of these discussions. Yeah, no, I thought this was a really good video, man. And again, I think it's one of these topics that the more that like, I mean, because gaming and technology are the same thing, right? I mean, they are. And so the more that you talk about gaming, and especially now that, you know, like we already had this happen with crypto, for example, is that, you know, you have a lot of gaming stuff that's now being encroached on by crypto in the past, and now it's AI. I think that, yeah, it's like you have to understand this stuff, and if you don't, you're going to have a really bad time. That's really it. It's unavoidable, like Yahoo. Yeah, I guess so. That's right. There is an update. Here we go.
Boy, howdy, do I have a wacky update for you.
Good.
If you're standing up, you're going to want to take a seat. This is big. This will wake your grandma up. I posted a video earlier today giving you the aftermath of the r/art Reddit mod meltdown and how apparently the entire mod team had resigned, basically turning in their badge and gun saying, you know what? We're done here, bucko. All because...
You gotta fend for yourself now. You're gonna have people posting all kinds of pictures on this subreddit. Nothing you can do about it.
One greasy ghoul on the moderation team let his ego spiral out of control because of that small crumb of power he was given as a moderator on the subreddit.
Of course.
And he just went ballistic. He lost his mind, lost his marbles, but could never lose his virginity, and it was just pure pandemonium. He got called out, couldn't handle the criticism, and then it seems like the entire mod team disbanded because of it.
Okay.
But I just learned, because I was reading the comments on the video, that Dolan Darkest had posted an update to the story that actually paints a very different, even more pathetic picture than what we thought happened.
It's like a Russian nesting doll of retardation. Like every Reddit moderator team, you think it's this bad, but actually it's even worse.
Because their post just says, we out, you win, we all resign.
Yeah, sure.
But what if I told you that's not the whole story?
No.
What if I told you that was a big fat lie? The call's coming from inside the house. It turns out that the real scoop here is even more degenerate than you could possibly imagine.
Okay.
Like, I don't even think fanfic writers would have come up with something this embarrassingly pathetic.
It's
so,
Reddit,
big
so
thanks
I can
to Dolan
believe it.
Darkest for uncovering this, because it is unbelievably comical. This is a truly special crash out that undoes 15 years of professional Redditing. It's incredible. And I use the word professional Redditing in jest. That's not really a thing. If
Yeah, it's not, because they don't get paid. The moderators aren't even making any money.
anyone calls himself a professional Redditor, that is someone that needs to be locked inside Arkham Asylum ASAP.
It turns out the moderator who power tripped and caused all of this in the first place, known as Neo Diogenes, actually had one last power trip. According to one moderator, they had no idea what had happened, as no communication was given when the subreddit was locked down. He undid this lockdown, and then he got kicked as a mod.
So this was one of the mods on the team.
So this guy tried to fix it. The person that probably wait, so they blocked you too?
That was unaware they were fighting in a war right now. They didn't know Judgment Day had happened. So they're saying, I woke up to a bunch of people DMing me about a situation I knew nothing about and responding to my comments in completely unrelated subreddits.
Yeah, sure.
I contacted admins, tried to contact the mod who had locked the subreddit through various channels, attempted to undo the lock, got my actions undone, then got booted as a mod. Now I see posts from meme subreddits I frequent and give my side. I haven't chosen anything lol.
What the fuck?
He then went on to explain that there can be unlimited mods, so he wasn't like taking somebody's space by being there and only did what he could to help out with some of the tools and things like that, and it was not like, you know, constant.
Not every single mod involved was probably in agreement with this. That's probably true, because there's always one mod that is like the head mod that owns the subreddit that decides who the other mods are. Like that. I mean, because you think about it, right? I mean, how could you have a system like that without having a person that way? So yeah, you're of course going to have this.
Updates what was happening there, which is why he was out of the loop. So Scooby-Doo and the crew pulled up here, and Dolan unmasked the mustache-twirling evil villain, and it turns out it was someone named Neo Diogenes, which, according to a lot of people on Reddit, is someone that has somewhat of a toxic history. I'm not overly...
So, this guy has a history on Reddit that people don't like him. This is like a whole alternative universe, man. I didn't even know this was a thing.
Familiar with Neo Diogenes and his reign of purity and terror? I have no clue. But according to Dolan, that was the mod that was going wacky. And this mod here is saying that they actually tried to lift the lockdown, which, you know, trying to get them out of DEFCON, ended up putting their own asshole in the crosshairs of superstar sniper Neo Diogenes.
So they tried to undo what... So this means that the guy who was crashing out had to have been Neo Diogenes, right? And not only that, but whenever other people tried to undo his crash out, he banned them? What the fuck?
And he enacted revenge. He reinstated lockdown protocol and then booted this mod.
The only other active moderator I could find also posted that they didn't leave voluntarily, calling the mod that kicked them stupid and providing proof they were randomly...
So basically, Neo Diogenes was purging.
Wait, sorry.
Definitely just calling the mod... Any other active moderator I could find also posted that they didn't leave voluntarily, calling the mod that kicked them stupid and providing proof they were randomly kicked, saying it was definitely just one mod crashing out.
This is another art.
So it's just one guy that caused all of this problem.
Art moderator echoing the same sentiment as the previous one about getting kicked randomly. So basically, Neo Diogenes was purging. He was on a fucking crazy crash out, leaving bodies in his wake. I don't have access to any logs anymore, but I can post this as proof that I didn't leave voluntarily. You don't get these messages when you leave a subreddit on your own. I'm not sure which mod did it, but they're fucking stupid in any case. And then they posted the screenshot. The other message Dolan highlights from this mod is about how they believe it is one mod crashing out, which I think is the correct theory here. I think that's pinning the tail on the donkey.
Literally. Yeah, I think that's probably what happened.
Keep in mind, all of this started because the person whose post they removed messaged him asking, are you really going to do this because I provided information? That's what started all of this. Someone just messaged the mod loosely questioning their decision, like with the enforcement of their rules, because it was a bit of a stretch. And that's what started all of this. Someone dared have the gall.
You know what? I think for sure it was one guy. One guy got fucking butthurt, mad, that somebody called out his position, his rules, and then whenever the other moderators tried to step to him, he just immediately shut him down. This guy is having a crisis right now. He was probably, you've got to keep in mind, he's probably sitting at Thanksgiving dinner table and, you know, his parents or his, you know, grandparents are like, oh, look who decided to come out of their den today. Who decided to come out of their lair? It's Neo Destiny sitting there eating turkey, mad as fuck, thinking about who's going to get banned for disagreeing with him. Yeah, the entire subreddit got mad. Like, he's gonna sit at the kid's table. Yeah, he's 37, right? And anyway, he's sitting there and fucking thinking about who he's going to ban.
The strong chin to question Neo Diogenes.
Now, during Neo Diogenes' crash out, he actually left a bunch of unhinged, sarcastic messages, deleting them 30 minutes later. Comments such as, "You're right."
This is a crash out. This is a Reddit certified crash out. I love this.
Look like total shits. It's why we quit. Better to be done with all that.
It was a temper tantrum. I've learned my lesson.
Everything. You won. We quit. Go and live life to the fullest, champ. Like I said, I'm boring.
Looking at the message.
So he 100%. He definitely did this. Absolutely. Power mod crash out. I mean, the admins have to permaban people like this. That's what I think they need to do. Because weirdos like this get involved in power structures and they ruin everything.
History from Neo Diogenes is just so sad. Yep, it's my fragile ego. For 15 years, all I did was... I'm assuming that says moderate. I don't know why it's censored. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe Dolan's viewing it as like a slur. And Reddit. Sometimes simultaneously. Holy shit, this guy's like an X-Men mutant. He's able to
moderate. For 15 years, all I did was moderate and Reddit. Sometimes simultaneously. And what do I get for it? Everybody betrays me. People are laughing at me. People are making YouTube videos about me. Well, you want me to be the villain? Here I am. You know, like, oh, it says masturbate? Ah, what's the difference?
And Reddit at the same time? What the fuck? I didn't know anyone could be so powerful. I was blissfully unaware that superhumans like this existed amongst us mere mortals. Wow, what crazy talent. God, the tone of his messages is truly insufferable.
He's so obnoxious. Like, this is absolutely the guy that the artist spoke to. It 100% had to have been the guy.
The world's smallest biographer's hidden party in the ambulance. Yep, that's right. I've learned my lesson, so I'm not
this person. I think that there's at least a 30% chance they own it. Like, I don't really say that because this is kind of like an outdated meme, but this is an outdated guy. He's been here for 15 years, okay? So there's probably a very high chance he's still got it for the win. Yeah, he's absolutely a millennial. He's probably has a neck beard. You know how it is. Absolutely.
You're right, we look like total shits. It's why we quit. Better to be done with all that because we obviously suck at, well, everything.
I had a guild officer in my guild in Mista Pandaria that did this. He got outnumbered on a vote decision, and then he had a massive crash out. And I remember he ended up quitting the guild and giving a random person guild master whenever he quit the guild. Man, this is giving me a little bit of a flashback. It's over 10 years ago.
Actually disgusting that he's roping in anyone else on the mod team for his temper tantrum. This was a solo project here from this guy. Yeah, this was entirely just him alone on the front lines of this battle. The mod team was not backing him from everything I've seen.
And now, it looks like he has completely muted his Reddit account. I actually caught this in action.
Wow!
His account earlier today. All of his posts have been deleted and replaced with random...
I wonder what his new account is going to do. Do you really think somebody like this is actually going to stop? No, bro. He's in it. He's addicted.
Words using a plugin, and now his Reddit account has absolutely no posts left on it. Nuking 15 years of moderation that he did for free, by the way. Nuking an entire subreddit because you couldn't deal with criticism, and then kicking every other mod while you're at it, making it their problem as well. And then deleting every single comment you've ever made on Reddit. That's some major main character energy there.
That was a beautiful...
That one got stuck. Like, how do you get knocked off by that? That's like that's the easiest one in Fall Guys. That guy was garbage. Saying the same thing. Yeah, what a fucking retard, huh?
You've ever made on Reddit. That's some major main character energy.
Yeah, sure.
That was a beautiful callback from Nolan. That shit might be taken when he brought out the nature that was one of the said to Hayden Clay.
He is the main character.
But hey man,
He's the main moderator.
That against me because this is just way too extreme with what you're doing. That was one of his responses. He said, I don't even know who the fuck you are. That is some major main character interview. So, based on this investigation here, with all available evidence, it seems that post, we out, you win, we all resign,
Is one guy.
was very misleading.
There's no we.
The
It's the
truth
royal we.
hidden in the pudding is that Rimrod was going through a very impressive process, and while still power tripping, sucking their own
What's
dick,
important to keep in mind is that it's not over yet. It's still not over. This guy can fuck up his life even more than he already has. It can get worse.
the other mods of r/art then made that post, making it seem like they all banded
Say it how it is. What?
together as a result of the backlash from this guy going off the rails.
Uh-huh.
That is a nefarious plot right there. That is dubious, to say the least. So now all the other mods that seem to not be on his side at all have now been roped into it because of him kicking them, making that post, making it seem as though they were still suckling off his nipples. They were like, hey, we're in this together. Like as if they were backing him.
He's trying to drag them all down with him.
But that's just not...
What I've always said about how people that like having, group accountability like it in order to, basically displace accountability from themselves. This is exactly what I was talking about right here. Exactly
It doesn't
it.
seem. That's crazy to go this far.
Mm-hmm.
So he kicks all the other mods and then deletes his
bad.
entire
Misery Loves
15-year
Company?
Reddit
That's
history,
right.
and it seems like Reddit is the most important thing to this guy's life. So that is a big fucking
I believe him.
deal. All because the guy whose post you removed dared ask for more clarification and if there was any wiggle room to maybe instead of delete everything, just remove that comment that you believe was violated. Because someone dared ask him a question and try and expand and question him, it started this crash out. That
Completely deserved. And this will not be the last time. Completely.
and I'm not exaggerating, it was one mess that set this guy off. They had talked previously about it. When that post was removed, he just asked me, are you going to remove it because I gave you extra information? And immediately he goes into
Well, no, it's worse than that. Because even the guy tried to de-escalate. He even tried to say, oh, okay, I get it. All right, fine, whatever. Sorry, I guess I broke the rules. My bad. Can you please just unban me? I won't do it again. And not even that was enough. Because, again, now this moderator went and he deleted all of this guy's entire post history. So, you think about all the extra work and time that takes. This dude was going overtime just to do that. For what?
combat stuff. Like, alright, it's time to get pugilistic. Are you ready to kiss the bus? I'm gonna maybe delete that post this week. You want that? I could do that.
I can do that to you.
But I'm down here. He's like, okay, fine.
It's too bad. It's done.
He took the smallest, most trivial nothing burger and blew it up into this.
It's embarrassing.
It is a very special crack out. And also, my apologies to the mod team. I had no idea that he was using you like puppets in this game. Who was the chess master who were pawns on this one? I didn't know, and I apologize for, I guess, making the assumption that you
Slandering their good name, assuming that they're as fucking deranged as this one guy. Yeah.
fighting together here based on his post saying that you were.
Guy's fucking nuts.
And I'm gonna be super honest with you here, sports fans. It's hard for me to even be mad at this mod anymore. It is because it's so fucking it's outrageous at this point. This level of pettiness. I didn't know somebody could do it so petty. I didn't know
No, he's right. This is the kind of stuff that you hear in stereotype joke videos. Or you'll see this on Adult Swim of them making fun of, or some sort of skit on Saturday Night Live of some moderator or some guy that works at a comic book shop getting super mad about somebody mispronouncing a superhero's name. Yeah, it's like a meme. Yeah, the guy's like a cartoon character.
that was Irishman. From what I can tell, Hayden Clay, as a result of all this, has gotten a ton of support. So let's really
not only is he getting an incredible amount of support, but I don't know if I can still follow this here. He apparently is selling the prints. Where is it? Yes, so now he's selling the prints of the image of the subreddit of them leaving on his website now. It's gotten that meta. Absolutely fucking embarrassing. Insanely fucking embarrassing. What if it's all PR, bro selling the W's, connecting his own hands? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how anybody can go and do this. Like, and I wonder, I mean, he's gonna have to delete his account and make a new account and then just do the same thing again. It's like, I mean, if you spent, here, I'll link you guys the video. If you spent this many years crafting out on Reddit and being a moderator on Reddit, nobody likes you, and this is just what's been going on for such a long time, do you really think this guy is just gonna say, you know what, guys? I think after my recent crash out, I'm gonna go seek mental help, and then I'm actually going to improve my life. Absolutely not. He's gonna make a new account. He's gonna make a new account. He's gonna build back up from zero, and the next time that he gets back up to the top of the pyramid, he's gonna be even worse, even more annoying, even more obnoxious every single time. There you go. Jeez, dude, I'm telling you, that's what it's gonna be, guys. Yeah, it's like a mad scientist. Yeah, like, because now he's got a chip on his shoulder. Now he's out. Now he's out for revenge. I'll tell you that. The Timeless Beauty, a pre-rendered graphic.
There's a distinct visual style that I believe truly stands the test of time.
Sure.
It's when the game employs pre-rendered graphics paired with an isometric perspective. Curious about what that looks like? Here, let me show you King's Quest.
Yeah. Yep, you walk around on it. Yep.
I'm on my way down to
These are the old days. Real old. Long time ago.
the gang of navvies. I was told there to engage.
Sin City.
I thought I'd stop in for a drink before I went away.
Wow.
To take me a trip
Damn.
on a government ship to the shores of Botany Bay. Farewell to your bricks and mortar. Farewell to your dirty lies. Farewell to your gangways and gangplanks.
Yeah, House of Torment was like this. You're right. The Settlers. Oh, I think I had this thing. Yeah, I think I did. Diablo 2
comes up this morning.
Damn, I didn't even know that.
If you can't
Wow.
get the navvies, I'm afraid you'll have to go.
So this is up until, like,
I asked
early
them for me
2000s.
wages and demanded all me pay. And I told them straight, I'll emigrate to the shores of Botany
Oh, yeah,
Bay.
it is great.
Farewell to your bricks and mortar. Farewell to your dirty lies. Farewell to your gangways and gangplanks.
I find that the big problem is the lack, like, optimization, like game optimization, used to be a skill inside of itself, but now it's not. It's not really a skill anymore, and it's just kind of, you know, oh, we'll just buy the new graphics card and it'll be okay. But back then, it was much more of a focus.
Where did this style come from, you might ask?
Look at this.
Well, allow me to explain. Back in the late 90s, real-time
When I
3D
reach
graphics was
Australia,
still
I'm
easy.
going
These early games were usually
There's plenty
pixelated,
there for
lacked
digging,
details,
or
at least I have been
My
told.
personal
Alright,
opinion
go
is that
back to
the
my
very
old
early
job.
3D games like that
Gonna take me a trip
are
on
the
a
games
government
that
ship
have
to the shores of
the
Botany
worst.
Bay.
Like, I can go back and play Super Mario, and it's great. I can go back and play GameCube, and it's great. But, like, those early 3D graphics games are so terrible.
Handling complex scenes in real time requires a lot of processing power, and then many computers can even simply do it. To achieve a higher level of fidelity, developers
Like, y'all remember, like, back in the day, how hard it was to run Half-Life 2? Like, I remember, like, being able to run Half-Life 2 was, like, that was at the time, like, you know, can your game run, you know, like, X or Y game at, like, the highest graphics? Like, that was the benchmark, was Half-Life 2.
solution. They'd create highly detailed environments, characters and objects, then render them on powerful PCs as static images or sequences of images. All assets were created with a fixed isometric perspective. This means they are viewed diagonally from above. Despite their static nature, isometric pre-rendered graphics can create the illusion of depth and three-dimensionality through performance, shading, lighting, and perspective techniques.
I mean, that's like hard
Since
one.
these games didn't require rendering most or any of their assets in real time, developers could back them with far more detail than a true 3D counterpart.
Yep.
This particular art style was most prominently seen in role-playing, strategy, and management games.
Yeah, I mean, this looks really, really good.
I'd say the golden age started with the
Baldur's Gate 2.
and ended around the start of 2003 with SimCity 4.
Long time.
Occasionally, you still stumble upon a game using this art style.
Yep.
By the end of 2004, it had largely
Beyond Divinity.
which leads me to the question, why was this technique mostly abandoned by the mid-2000s?
I don't know.
The whole reason this technique was used in the first place was due to hardware limitations. However, as we entered the
Use hair.
rapid advancements in new graphics hardware,
I think I had this one. Maybe I didn't, but I had one that looked just like this. Just like this.
and rendering techniques emerged. These advancements made it possible
It's a
to
relic,
render 3D
yeah.
graphics in real time that didn't look like a slideshow.
I'm telling you.
Pretty clean, smooth-looking animation considering compared to the Dreamcast stuff.
Oh, how the times have changed.
Yeah.
Another reason for the switch to 3D is the limitation of pre-rendered graphics in terms of interactivity and adaptability. As games evolved to become more complex, the use of pre-rendered graphics became increasingly impractical. The same applies to the development of pre-rendered graphics. If you wanted to change an asset, you couldn't simply tweak it. You had to fully re-render it. Being able to tweak a model within a couple of clicks meant developers could work a lot faster.
So it was done to save time? I'm actually surprised.
Right? Well, I'm happy to report
Well, that'd
it
be
has made a
faster.
bit of a comeback, especially in the indie scene. It seems
Well, I think that's really what happens. Is that a lot of games are probably using this now again. So, like, you have games that really go for a retro aesthetic. And I think that the Super Nintendo aesthetic is kind of like it's very overused at this point. So you're probably not seeing as many people using it now, like, because every single Metroidvania game used it, and there's like a handful of other ones that use it too. But like now you're starting to see games that use the style of like a 1998 PC game or a PlayStation 1 game or something like that instead. SNES is peak? Yeah, I know it's peak. That's the reason why it's overused.
still involved in pre-rendered look. Obsidian Entertainment released the game called Pillars of Eternity in 2015, developed by CRT.
Is it any about it?
Tim King and Chris Murray.
Tim King? That's the guy that makes
Then there are also games that keep the isometric perspective, but don't use pre-rendered graphics. They work with box sprites instead, like all Super Giants
Age of Empires. Oh my god. This is the game that I played as a kid. This is my main game.
This allows people to
love this
timeless games on modern machines. And man, do they look beautiful on there.
Yep.
It's a testament of why hardware and budget limitations can produce some incredible art. In a world where AAA studios relentlessly pursue photorealism, nothing inherently wrong with that approach. I'm happy to see the preservation of these older games and passing the torch to create new ones.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Games in this style that I think deserve more attention. Feel free to pause the video.
Transformer Generals, did they have that? I don't know if they did or not.
Of course, there are plenty of games.
Well, I never played this one.
I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to me. If you want to see more
Yeah, this looks really nice.
it's way better than that. Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you'll excuse me,
This is a really good video.
peace.
He just popped in. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I didn't know about this. I mean, I'll link you guys the video. I didn't even know about this at all. And so yeah. And as an RPG veteran, you wrote Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Maybe I never really went and played any of those games. Like for whatever reason, I just never got into it. And so we'll see what happens, right? But maybe one day I will. Stronghold has great animations on resource farming. Are you done with wins me? No, I'm not, bro. Like, I've been playing the fuck out of it. But anyway, yeah, this looks amazing. And I think the style of these old games, like, I think Final Fantasy VII is another one of the games that had that. Like, isn't the overworld like that, where you would walk around? And I think that there's a style to that that people really like a lot because it feels like it has a nostalgic vibe to it, but it also makes sense inside of the world, right? Sonic Wars, that's what I thought. I've never played it myself. I've just seen images. You gotta get more serious with gaming recently, and we should dedicate a new card stream to just gaming. Well, that's never gonna happen, so I wouldn't really get excited for that. Maybe one day in the future I'll probably play more games, but right now, like, I generally, this is just the way my brain works. I like playing video games more off stream 9 times out of 10 because I don't have distractions. Like, I can actually focus on the game and just enjoy the game. Now, it doesn't mean I don't play games on stream. Sometimes I do, but you know, like, basically, this is gonna sound like even weird, right, baby? I don't like playing video games with a camera. I feel like at that point, like, I kind of like I'm splitting my focus because, you know, whenever I have a camera on me, my brain is like thinking about like okay, I'm on camera. But because like usually this is the way I play video games.
On it, you know, because it's not really hard for me.
I'm like zombified out. I am totally out of it. So yeah, it's just not really for me. It turned off the I just don't like doing it. Like, at a certain point, like, it's just something I don't really like doing. I'm not gonna try to contort myself into 50 different, like, weird permutations in order to do something I don't even really like in the first place. I don't know what I do that. So yeah, fuck no. And there's pressure. I get put under pressure really easily, right? Like it's a weakness for me, and so that's really the reason why I don't do it a whole lot. Tried to stream a while ago. It's weird without face cam. It's a different mindset, hard to explain. Yeah, I mean, and I kind of like the way it was without the face cam because like it offers a different dynamic. But yeah, either way, let me go back. I'll talk about this again. Is that, but yeah, anybody who wants me to like go and like play these like super long RPGs on stream, like that's just not never gonna happen. You know, that's just never gonna happen. So like, I like playing maybe short games and simple games on stream. I don't like playing complex games on stream because it's like my brain power is going too much into streaming, and I can't focus on the game and be able to play it in a way that's fulfilling. So yeah, that's just the way I am. And did you ever play Grandpa DLC? No, I never did. I beat the game, but I never went back and played it again. And so yeah, it's that simple. Play Disco Elysium, please, maybe. But either way, yeah, I feel like having styles like this and having games like this does look a lot better because it looks really nice, and I think also it's easier for a game to run. And that's the big problem that I think a lot of video games have now is that they just don't run very well. And what's crazy is that this is something that a lot of people don't really talk about, but there's one game that did it so well, which is Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance, and also more recently, Where Winds Meet, both of these video games are incredibly detailed in terms of like the scope and the size of what they're showing, but at the same time, they're able to effectively just be very, very well-running games. And you compare that to the monstrosity that is Monster Hunter Wilds. And this game, oh my fucking god, like this game doesn't run for shit. And so anyway, you've got big problems with this. Let's see, I think Ninja Gaiden 2 was the same thing as well. Like that game could not run at all. I mean, is it too late to start playing Where Winds Meet? Yeah, unless you started playing on the first day, you probably should just quit, honestly. Like, I mean, unless you start playing a live service game on the first day, you should quit the game. And if you're not playing it every single day constantly, you also should quit the game. That's just the way it is. Everybody knows this about live service games. Devs are failing customers by not producing games that run. Yeah, Borderlands 4. Yeah, I think my cousin plays that, but that's about it. And people used to add fog to not render the background unless one's close to it. Nowadays, they want to render the entire world. Well, if you knew, like, there are engines that are dynamic rendering. They do dynamic rendering, like Unreal does dynamic rendering. and like asset and resource culling, right, in real time. But things like Lost Ark, yeah, that's a good example, right? Definitely. Oh, let me link you guys the video too. This game, apparently this came out 2 years or a year ago, right? But I'll link it to you guys. Make sure to give the guy a sub, right? Game Tales HQ. Is he still making videos nowadays? Oh, wow, he is. Well, good for him. Yeah, I'll have to watch some of these. These are really good. And yeah, I'll link you guys the video. What a good guy. This person that did the stabbing had 72 prior arrests. That's a lot of arrests.
Prosecutors say he lit a woman on fire aboard a train. Meanwhile,
so after 72 arrests, he lit somebody on fire.
There are growing questions about why he was back out on the streets despite a rap sheet reportedly going back to the early 90s. Mike Tobin is live.
Here, let me ask a question, right? Let's ask a question to the AI. How much, on average, does an arrest cost taxpayers in the U.S.? How much does it cost on average? Because you guys really need to understand the value of this and how much it costs. So we're going to look at the lowest number, okay? This is the lowest number. $2,000 is the absolute bottom. It never goes lower than that. So we'll look at 2,000. So 2,000 times 70, $140,000 has been spent at the absolute minimum around micromanaging this retard. And in my opinion, I think it's a lot more. The judge should be tried. Oh, I agree with this. See, like on principle alone, I would sue this judge as an accomplice. See, when we start having judges be sued as accomplices in criminal cases for criminals that they let off on bail or, they didn't convict them of something harsh, that's whenever I will know that we're back. See, that's the kind of stuff I want Trump to do. Like, I want Trump to instruct the, Department of Justice to make it a policy now that if a judge lets somebody off that has a bunch of arrests and this person commits another crime, then the judge is also criminally charged with that crime. He can't? Well, he can instruct the Department of Justice. You can do it in terms of an abstract. I know Trump can't just do this. But, like, if he wants to make that a goal, he should try to make that a goal. And so, yes, go for it. And I think this is the way it should work in Texas, too. This is the way it should work everywhere. Exactly. It sounds fair. It's by proxy. Exactly. And so, yeah, make it a bill. Yeah, Congress can. Yeah, you should make it a bill. And anybody who's against it wants to have you be terrorized by criminals. That's it. They want you to be terrorized by criminals. What should be the limit? 3? I mean, if you get arrested more than 3 times, you probably should go to prison. No normal person's getting arrested 3 times. Really? I mean, like, yeah. So fucking dumb, they would never let anyone go. Oh, no! They wouldn't? Oh, wow. Wait a minute. That's the point. Wait. Yeah, maybe 3 strikes is too harsh, but 72? What are we doing at this point? I think 3 strikes is reasonable. I think 3 times is too much. 1 to 2 times sounds better. Well, it depends on what it is. Yeah, don't commit the crime then, you idiot. Yeah, exactly. 3rd time should already be prison. I wonder how El Salvador does it. Yeah, I mean, these people should be happy that they're not being killed and harvested for their organs. 70 fucking arrests? Are you kidding me? Get the fuck out of here. Like in any other third world country, they would have broken your head open with a rock to get the evil spirits out. You should be saying, thank God you're putting me in prison instead of cutting me in pieces. Yes, we are the reasonable ones. I'm the good guy. I'm the nice guy.
In the Windy City with more. Hi, Mike.
And Dana Lawrence Reed will be once again before the judge today, this time to determine if he will be held behind bars before he goes to trial. And that really is the backbone of this case.
Now he's going to be behind bars. Oh, okay.
Well, this is from 11 days ago.
Okay. All right, that's good. You should tweet about this, give it traction. I think Trump would actually do something about this. No. If you pass a motion, you mention a judge being accessory to crime, it will raise the amount of judges that ask more harshly on small things. That's my goal.
until we strike soundings.
I love how your argument against me is just expressing what my goal is. No, that's the intention.
So
that's the goal.
Upload our,
Why do you want to live in a world where you're being terrorized by criminals?
we're gonna offload the cold.
Do you want your daughter, your mother, your grandmother, your father to live in a world where they're being terrorized by criminals? Of course not. You want pregnant women being terrorized by criminals? It's crazy. Yeah, I've been tweeting at Cash Patel to fix Reddit. Bro, he can't even fix Reddit. Yeah.
Monday, he was out walking the street despite a pending case for allegedly knocking a woman out, able to ride the L train where a woman was set on.
So he had a case that he was going to knock. He knocked somebody out. He had 70 arrests, and they let him go. Yeah. And so I think the judge should be charged as an accomplice. Absolutely. I swear these people think the world is a Disney show. Well, a lot of people have this idea that we should treat criminals like people. I don't. Whenever you get arrested 70 times and you're lighting people on fire, you should be saying, thank you, God, that you're not being dissected for your organs. Okay? You should be saying, thank you. Thank you that that's not happening to me.
Fire. Now, we have a statement from her family through Cook County Health. It's a pretty simple statement. They say, we'd like to thank everyone for their prayers and well wishes as our daughter receives care for her injuries sustained earlier this week. We're also grateful for the excellent care and support of the burn team at Stroger Hospital.
So the woman survived? That's incredible. Good for the doctors, I guess, yeah. I have 3 convictions. What do you think should happen to me? We probably should have gone to jail. That's what should have happened. And I guarantee you, if the punishment system that I had, that like I would want, was in place, you probably wouldn't have had those convictions because you wouldn't have done it. The reason why people commit crime is because they know they can get away with it. That's it.
Goes down to the family to say the family will not be providing any more updates. Now, the criminal complaint against Reed said he went to a gas station, filled a plastic bottle with gasoline. The images get brutal here. Brace yourself. 5 minutes later, he was on the Blue Line train. Dumped the gasoline on the woman's head. She ran, but he chased her down with the flaming remnants of the bottle.
This is, I mean, like, you listen to the story. This is like out of a horror story. It is. This is like a horror story thing that happened.
Set her on fire. Mayor Brandon Johnson's message is that
they should light him on fire as punishment. No, I think, he's a young guy. You can get some work out of him. Just mandatory labor in prison for the rest of his life. I think that's reasonable. That's fair.
On public transit is not widespread.
Yes.
Look, my responsibility is to build this.
Oh, look who it is. Of course it was this guy. Wow.
Safest, most affordable big city in America. The investments that we are making are certainly moving us in that direction. This is an isolated incident. I mean, I don't.
Well, it's not really isolated if there's 70 other times that it already happened, right? I mean, it doesn't really seem like it's very isolated to me.
See this as some sort of trend.
I think we wanted.
You don't see it as a trend? I do.
We've tracked down more than 4 dozen arrests of Lawrence Reed since 1993. 9 of them were for felonies, yet he is
9 felonies?
Huh. Are you setting sail?
Bro, this guy's just racking them up.
Just over 2 years behind bars. Most recently, he was charged with aggravated assault for knocking out a social worker. The state's attorney requested pre-trial detention, but Judge Teresa Molina Gonzalez denied him the request.
Charge her as an accessory for attempted murder. Put her in jail for like, I don't know, maybe 10 years? Something like that. What do you guys think? That sound good? You got see people like this is the real evil, in my opinion, are actually not even like this guy. And I know that might sound weird. Well, he's the one doing it. Yeah, but this guy's probably like an 80 IQ retard, meth head, piece of shit, moron with no impulse control. It's like you can't let, an animal in a house and then expect the animal not to trash the house. You put a bull in a china shop, it's going to mess everything up. It's not really the bull's fault. It's just what happens. But these people are the ones that are making the decisions and creating the ecosystem and allowing it to happen. They're supposed to be making decisions for their better judgment and for the betterment of everybody else, but they have decided to betray everyone in favor of their empathy. And whenever their empathy costs people their lives and it ruins people's lives, then I think there needs to be consequences for that. That is even worse than doing it. Because he's the cookie, she's the cookie factory. She allows it to happen. She manufactures people like him on a regular basis. These are the enemies right here. Not even the criminal. The criminal is just a retard. That's it. Who cares? Lock him up. That's it. It's done. But this is the person who has betrayed their position. That's what I think. Imagine if she's illegal, that teacher recently. That'd be quite the twist. I don't know. Do you think the family should be allowed to sue the Justice Department? Yeah, I would say so. I mean, why not? I mean, yeah, like, why not? I don't see the reason that you shouldn't be able to. Absolutely. We should set the judge on fire? No, I don't think so. I think that, again, maybe in some cases it would be a good decision to do that, but I'm generally not a big advocate of public executions unless it's like a last resort. Like, I would save that for, like, politicians. Yeah, like people like for treason, like how they did with Saddam Hussein. I thought that was great. But like other than that, I mean, I wouldn't really do it a whole lot. Because you don't want to do it all the time, because it like the impact of it goes down.
And put them on electronic monitoring. The website CWB Chicago reports that at that detention hearing, Judge Melina Gonzalez said, I can't put everyone behind bars or keep everyone in jail.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Just build more prisons.
Get moving. Jail just because the state's attorney has asked me to.
And here's another solution. Just put more people in the same box. Put them in the same box. Like, I mean, like, who cares? So, if, like, basically you've got 2 guys that are in the cell, then just make it 3 guys. Yeah, cram them in. Stack them up like sardines, bro. Like how they do in El Salvador. Exactly. And again, if you don't want to deal with that, don't go to prison. It's that simple. Yes, you can. You just do it. Yeah, you just do it.
So we'll find out later today if a federal judge will keep them behind bars.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. America's too pussies. They're not ready for it. America is full of a bunch of pussies. It is so embarrassing for me to see this happen. It really is. And should definitely be tiered. Your third strike earns you an additional 5 years. There's more than enough. There's 54 outs in this baseball game. Yeah, exactly, right? And so I did see this, and here's another one, too. Also, by the way, so this is something that Elon retweeted. Europe became the greatest civilization ever by hanging criminals for centuries, executing 1 to 2% of each generation until doing such became unnecessary. I told you guys, it's catching on, bro. It's actually catching on. Like, it's gonna work too. It'll work. We need a judge tracker that keeps track of this stuff. Oh, I think you do too. Absolutely. And yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Shouldn't judges and cops be AI since humans get emotional and corrupted? Well, I think you need to have a person that looks over it. But I mean, I see what you're saying. But yeah, I think that that's actually a really good idea. You should have a judge tracker of like the different judges and how many violent criminals they let off and what those criminals do after that. I think that'd be a really good idea. Yeah, they should make a website like that. That's smart.
I think we're gonna sell the weapon.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I bought them to sell.
There it is, like a leaderboard. Yeah, that's smart. Damn, guys, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's called accountability. Exactly. Well, it is accountability.
If you're wondering what game this is, just some
AI cops will be ruthless. That's the goal. And AI can be biased since it got trained on human behavior. Maybe you're right. I don't know. It's to assess their judgment. And would you like it to be like the Middle East where they have a no bullshit policy with criminals? I think that it's reasonable to let somebody do something wrong maybe once or twice, but like after that, and it depends on what it is, right? Like if you're stealing out of a CVS, then I don't think we need to cut your hands off, for example. But you know, if you do it 5 times, then yeah, you need to take a vacation. I mean, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Ed and I do have general government accountability site called Verified Public Truth. It's basically community notes for the government. Yeah, I like that a lot. It's a good idea. And so yeah. And as a result, they could focus on empire building and high civilization rather than forever paying the EBT, Dengeld, and hostile to irrationally violent underclass. Exactly. And the problem is that the majority of all violence is committed by violent crime is committed by less than 1% of the population. And as soon as you understand that, you'll understand how easy of a problem this is to solve. It is such an incredibly easy problem to solve, and some people just simply don't want to. But anyway, yeah, I did see this, and that's generally the way that I feel about it, right? Let's get this fundraiser for the judge tracker. I think that's a good idea. I do. I think it's an actually good idea that there should be a website that tracks every one of these judges, and then it tracks the kind of decisions that they make on different cases, and like why they made those decisions. And I think that'd be amazing. Be fucking incredible. Do it? Absolutely. One for theft? Yes. Tell that to Elon. Yeah, leaderboards for like how many violent criminals have you let go?
The word piracy these days conjures up the golden age of piracy, tricorn hats and dreadlocks with beads in them, and people bouncing around drinking rum from island to island, cutlasses, cannon, great big ships. However, that is the 17th century, and piracy has been around, is still with us today, but it's been around since antiquity. The Romans suffered under pirates. The Greeks did as well. Even the Bronze Age collapse was potentially caused by pirates and the sea route. Did medieval people suffer from piracy? Yes, they did. Let's go into a few more details about it. For medieval England, the south coast, the east coast, and the west coast were infested with pirates. Particularly the North Sea, of course, with the Vikings, the Viking raids, basically the Viking pirates. But the south coast, all sorts of piracy went on along there, and of course the Irish Sea was rife with pirates. So the whole island was surrounded by medieval pirates at one stage or another. One of the more colourful medieval pirates was called Eustace the monk, because he entered a monastery when he was younger, fell out with various people, and started a life of piracy in the Channel. He was based around the south coast, around 1170, died in 1217, and he raided shipping of all sorts. He raided English shipping and French shipping. But he's particularly colourful because we know an awful lot about him, because there were adventure stories told about him. In a similar and less well-known way to Robin Hood, for example, his life became surrounded with ballads and tales of all sorts of weird things and daring do. He's variously accused of being able to employ sorcery in terms of piracy. Whether that's true or not, I'll leave that to your own imagination. But the medieval audience lapped that up. But he was a real figure, and he was employed by several kings, and he had a pirate fleet. Born near Boulogne to a minor noble family in northern France, he was entered into a monastery at a fairly young age. And it appears from there the stories of his employing sorcery starts to develop. A record called L'Histoire de Duc de Normandy, apologies for my bad French, simply describes Eustace as Eustace the monk, a very wicked man, which I think is quite descriptive. So they obviously thought he was quite bad, but he went from leaving the monastery for whatever reason. We're not actually told. The reports vary, the opinions vary. He obviously fell out with somebody, or maybe he had a big fight, or maybe he refused to do monkish type of things, and he went on the run. He then appears to have fallen out with a local noble and raised a gang of people and burned some of his mills to the ground. Now, mills were a very important source of tax for the local nobles. So it appears that that was fairly strong comment on the state of political affairs there. It may be that he was disowned, or there were all sorts of minor noble squabbles going on at the time, but he managed to raise a gang and burn mills down, and he then went on the run and was declared outlaw and fled to sea. At sea he becomes what's called a routier, a traveller of the roads. It's very similar in some ways to the concept of a Japanese ronin, a master and a samurai, although he was a piratical bad person. but he seems to have wandered the roads and then finally ended up at sea. I assume he had a band with him though, because one man can't really do that much mischief if people don't want him to. So perhaps he'd already gathered a band of ne'er-do-wells with him at this stage, and they decided to embark on a life of piracy. I wonder where they got their first boat from. I wonder if they actually stole their first boat. The records don't say anything like that. They just say he became a pirate, which leaves all sorts of questions about the origin story left open for us to interpret. But at some stage, he got himself a ship and started his life of piracy. Around 1204, 1205, he seems to have really begun his career in piracy quite strongly. He formed a sort of pirate base in the Channel Islands, particularly Sardinia, using the geography of those islands as a sort of means of hiding. They've got lots of inlets and places to hide. And they're not remote exactly, because they're quite accessible from the channel, but at the same time they're not easily accessible. You need a boat to catch. So if you want to have a pirate, having an island base is obviously and he set about raiding coastal shipping, both the English and the French, and occasionally raiding towns as well. Let's not forget, pirates don't just attack other people's ships. That's the main part of what they do. They also raid coastal villages and local towns and take them. Very similar to some
Now the antelope, was a sickening sight. I wish I was in Shorebird now. See the list to the port and the sails in right. Cooking the scuppers with the shapes and the jets. Goddamn them all. I was told we'd sail the seas for American gold. We'd fire no gun, shed no tear. Well, I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier. The last of Paris, rain of tears. And on the King's birthday we sailed away. I wish I was in Shorebrook now. We were 97 days from Montego Bay, pumping like madmen all the way. Goddamn them all. I was told we'd sail the seas for American gold. We'd fire no gun, shed no tear. Well, I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier. The last of Paris, privateers. And on the 98th day we sailed again. I wish I was in Shorebrook now. With the big fat American hove in sight, a crack for pounders made to fight. Goddamn them all. I was told we'd sail the seas for American gold. We'd fire no gun, shed no tear. Well, I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier. The last of Paris, privateers. That's Yankee Sheila Loco. I wish I was in Shorebrook now. She was big and fat and loose at the stage. To catch her took us 3 whole days. Goddamn them all. I was told we'd sail the seas for American gold. We'd fire no guns, shed no tears. Well, I'm a broken man on a Halifax pier. The last of Paris privateers. What at last we stirred tea cables away. I wish I was in Shorebrook now. Well,
anyway, what this allows you to do, this DLC called War Sails, allows you to explore the ocean, really. It allows you to look into a faction called the Nords, which I assume are based very heavily on the Northmen, the Danes. On these islands of England, we talk about the Vikings, we talk about Danes, Dane axes. These are all synonyms for a group of people that lived in the Old North of Europe and were great explorers. They were explorers, they were settlers, they were traders, they were also pirates as well. Raiding coastal landscapes was very important. In fact, they often never lived in rivers, for example. So that's quite a long way inland, but very close to the river. And they were the scourge of the seas, actually. So in this DLC, it's going to be very interesting to see whether you become the scourge. And controlling a ship isn't that difficult to control the horse. So the ship doesn't have its own mind, but it's influenced by the tides and the waves and the weather and the wind, obviously. And how you trim the sails and how you control the angle of attack and direction has got a lot of parallels to watership. So it's hardly surprising that when the Vikings settled and decided to look into combat on land, they became very good at that as well. And Vikings were the earlier Normans, basically the the Normans were Northmen, hence the name. They settled in parts of northern France and became the Norman dynasty. And that's really what they are. They are Frenchified Vikings. So Mount and Blade 2, Bannerlord, this War Sales DLC is out.
It's time for the PC gaming show Most Wanted, and this year we're sponsored by our good friends over at Xbox Game Pass.
Xbox!
Every game you see on today's show can be found on PC Gamer's Steam page. Let's start the show with 3 galactic world premiere trailers.
Okay, all right, 3 world premieres. I like that. This better be good. This better not be a girl game. Oh, it's a sword? Okay, all right, we're safe, guys. Wait, there's a girl, but she's hot. It's okay. No, it's fine. She's on the moon? Bravery, courtesy, honor, loyalty. This is cool. Where's the actual game, though?
You can tell when he's like
Chaos Manufacturing
like
Presents. Is the audio good? I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. I'm gonna move this just so you guys can read. I will paint the stars. Oh, it's from Thanos. Wait, what? She's riding a horse on the moon and it's a robot horse? And it's a robot samurai army? What? I could see this being good. I could also see it being bad. I don't know. This looks like Ninja Gaiden DEI edition, you know? Because there's a girl in it. Oh, actually, never mind. You don't have as many bosses like that, Ninja Gaiden. When does it come out? Soul? Stop. Soul Shogunate? I played the fuck out of this. That's a sword game. We love sword games. Oh my god, it's Age of Empires. What's this? So let me guess. You get to... Oh, you can make bases. Oh, wow. Wow, look at this. Your Age bait? Yeah, I've got content for tomorrow, okay? That's cool. That's cool. I like that. You just put them right on top of it. You know, like, is there a reason that you do any of this? Like, you're building a factory and to do what? Like, autism? The reason that you do this is autism. That's it? So there's not like a big boss you have to fight or something? Because I played Core Keeper, right? Which had elements of this. That was really good. Okay.
Attention all drivers.
Oh. What's this?
1 minute to showtime.
Oh, shit.
Those who are about to die, we salute you.
Oh, dude. These games used to come out like one every 6 months on the GameCube. On like, you know, this was like half of my PS2 catalog. I used to love these fucking games. Holy shit. Carmageddon, yeah. Need for Speed? Well, we had a lot of the other ones too. Carmageddon. That's badass, man. Let's get moving. That's cool. Damn. Okay, it comes out soon. I'm glad. Yeah, I would play that. I would say I would play 2 out of those 3. Like, the sword game definitely would be my favorite.
Being in a spaceship was cool, but after seeing think a car that
Somebody
goes
says that's a
all the way
webcam
up,
from
you really
LA.
want to get back to Earth and get behind the
Is
wheel
that
of
true?
a car.
I think it might be.
First, my sacred duty as a Starship Commander, introducing a new segment.
Yeah.
That's no dime a dozen reward down there. It's the headquarters of the Galactic Council, a collective of developers, industry luminaries, and expert critics.
Luminaries? Is that from Expedition 33?
Everyone's in a toga and they spend all day writing the worst poetry you've ever heard. But for the past year, they've been crunching the data on every game on the horizon using their powerful psychic brains and a bootleg.
Somebody in chat says, why is there a girl talking so much? Is this Battlefield 6?
Most exciting and anticipated upcoming games, known galaxy-wide as PC gaming is most wanted.
Eventually we're going to get in trouble for this.
Way more than just 25 games to transmit.
We're going to eventually get in trouble.
We've also beamed ourselves into some developer studios for in-depth interviews. Plus, we're docking with tons of new trailers for games on PC Gamer's very own wishlist. To help you keep track, head to pcgamer.com/wishlist where you'll find every single game on today's show.
Let's see it. Next.
Number 25.
Oh, this is the animal. I seen this. This was good.
We have loved games like Limbo, we have loved games like Inside, and from the same creators there's two other games that we love so much, Little Nightmares 1 and 2. We now have Reanimal, and I was lucky enough at Gamescom to try out the demo. The whole booth was so scary that we got jump scared by the attendants that were there. It was so funny. But the game so far, first impressions, just absolutely incredible. The graphics are just head and shoulders anything that I've seen from this type of genre before.
That's alright, yeah, it was good.
I love that I got to play it with a friend.
Is this a game for girls?
It's just such an added layer to
This is a game for girls that had an Invader Zim backpack in middle school.
And we know we're in good hands.
Don't get confused.
I just can't wait to see the full thing. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And I love
She looks like the kind of girl that would have done that.
And squeeze them together and brought us something different. And I just can't wait to play it.
Reanimal. I've never played one of these. Next, what's the next one? What's the next game? Wish list? That's nice. Now what?
Is this the golden era of FPS games? Craving that classic shooter
What's
twist? Welcome to Rogue Point.
Okay.
A 4-player co-op FPS built for squads who crave replayability, mayhem, and one more.
I feel like if I was gonna play an FPS right now, I'd just play fucking. What would I play? Arc Raiders. I feel like that's the big game right now.
Whether you're a tactical mastermind or a mess around and find out type of player.
Rivals? Rivals is good, but like I'd rather play Arc Raiders.
Smash window, press button, rescue hostages, revive your dead friends, swear, tight short.
That's not an FPS, it's third person shooter. It's an FPS.
Draw stupid pictures. Here's this weird
Are you shooting things with a gun? Okay, it's an FPS.
They're free. And watch out for this weirdo. All made by Crowbar Collective, the indie dev studio behind Black Mesa. Rogue.
That was a mod for Half-Life, I hear. What's the secret mode? Nostalgic football management? Oh no. Oh no. 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 No, not a car. No. A sports car game for soccer? This is way too European for me.
Then a great big Dutchman rammed my bow, mark well what I do say. For a great big Dutchman rammed my bow.
So what exactly is this?
This is an original Nepalese beer gun.
It's pretty amazing. Does it work?
I've been told it works.
And how much do you want for it?
I'm asking $30,000. What's your concerns on this?
If it's after 1898, I can't buy it legally.
Yes, they were only made in 1896 and 1897, so they're completely legal to own. This fires only with each crank.
Cool.
Are you planning on shooting this?
Yeah, we're gonna take out the firing range in the morning and meet up with Alex. Want to come?
Yeah.
Look at this. The beer gun. A man named Gahendra was able to smuggle in an American Gardner gun, and he attempted to reverse engineer the American Gardner.
I thought I heard the old man say, leave her, Johnny, leave her. Tomorrow ye will get your pay, and it's time for us to leave her. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her. Oh, the wind was foul and the sea ran high. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. She shipped it green and none went by, and it's time for us to leave her.
There are a lot of very important systems in the world today that, with even a little bit of critical analysis, don't really make that much sense. Private equity has become a multi-trillion-dollar staple of the investing industry, but it seems to make more money from financial shell games than it does from actually running businesses, and yet people are still giving these firms trillions of dollars. The rest of the market is being kept afloat by technology almost everybody admits is some kind of bubble. New creative flavors of debt are being sold off as revolutionary new ways of empowering spending, but at the same time, the consumers that all of this relies on are more broke than ever before. It seems like across the entire economy, nobody is actually making any money, but everybody is getting paid as long as they go along with it. The one thing that ties all this together is the unshakable belief that by the time this delicate system unravels, it will be someone else's problem.
Back, I want to shift to the debt conversation. Leave her, Johnny, leave her. But now we're through, so we'll go on shore. And it's time for us to leave her.
$19.65 billion. The Swedish fintech upsized its IPO, indicating very strong demand for the 20-year-old company.
There are a lot of homeowners right now who can't afford to move even if they wanted to.
$1 trillion this year, partly due to high prices. Let's start with these markets, as you just heard Brian mention. The S&P and NASDAQ record highs again.
Okay, so back in the 1970s, companies had a problem. Their executives were just regular employees that were collecting a paycheck like everybody else. Their paycheck was larger, but actually not that much larger than a regular employee. According to data from the Economic Policy Institute, the average CEO of one of the largest 350 companies in 1965 earned just over 20 times more than the average employee. This was partially because average workers earned more and because executives earned significantly less year to year. This was obviously a big problem, because it encouraged executives to hold on to their jobs long term and not take too many risks so they could keep on earning this comfortable salary. Back then, the average tenure of a top executive was roughly double what it is today, and the average company spent roughly twice as much time in the S&P 500. At this time, most of the profits these companies made were reinvested back into the company itself to acquire new business, research and develop new products, and pay their staff. Eventually, shareholders figured out that it was better to pay these executives larger bonuses based on performance, especially performance that returned more money to them. Now, hot take alert, but this by itself is completely reasonable. Shareholders own the company, and they should make sure that there are systems in place to align employee incentives with their own objectives. And of course, their number one objective was getting a return on their investment. Where things did start to go a little bit off the rails, though, was when a law that significantly limited stock buybacks was repealed in 1982. This let executives use company money to buy back their own shares in the public market, which did a few things. The first thing was that it increased the share price even if the company wasn't actually doing any better. When this law was repealed, the average company in the S&P 500 had a price-to-earnings ratio of about 6.2, which meant 6.2 years of company profits would cover the price of the company's shares. Today, that PE ratio is over 36, which really just means that shares are roughly 6 times more expensive than they were in 1992 for the same amount of profit. This is great for existing shareholders, but makes the whole market a lot more questionable in terms of true value. Buybacks also make financial metrics like earnings per share look better, but not because the company makes more money, but rather because there are just fewer shares. Now, another hot take alert, but even this is arguably good for shareholders who include capital appreciation and tax-efficient stock returns. But as the late Charlie Munger once said, show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. Stock buybacks are kind of like crack for corporate finance. They will get that stock price high even if the rest of the business is falling apart. or even if they are causing the rest of the business to fall apart. Stock buybacks started as an alternative to dividends that could be used when the executive team believed that the company's stock was undervalued. That eventually gave way as more money started to be spent on buybacks than dividends, and then more money was spent on buybacks than reinvestment into the business itself to fund R&D or workforce development. A lot of companies took it even further than this and spent more on stock buybacks when the company was making a profit. They did this by borrowing money to buy their own shares back from their own investors, which is why corporate debt was at all-time highs. Now, for most businesses, this was clearly very dumb, but it pumped stock prices enough for CEOs to make absolutely enormous bonuses. The average CEO now earns more than 340 times more than their average employee, and with such enormous fortunes that can be made in such little time, it's very hard for anybody to not play the game. Of course, it's not sustainable, but that's next quarter's point. So it's time to learn how money works to find out what happens when the next quarter finally arrives. This week's video is sponsored by NordVPN, who partnered with me to help keep you safer online because the internet can still feel like the digital Wild West. NordVPN's mission is to make the internet safer, more private, and free from tracking, censorship, and those sketchy moments when a website just does not feel right. With one click, you get a fast, secure VPN that protects your connection anywhere in the world. And with Threat Protection Pro, Nord goes beyond a normal VPN by blocking malware, stopping phishing attempts, and warning you if you are about to land on a fake online shop. It has already helped me once when I almost bought from a site that looked a little too generous. Threat Protection Pro flagged it immediately, and I backed away before giving a scammer my card details. You can also turn on Dark Web Monitor, which keeps an eye on leaked credentials and alerts you if any of your information shows up anywhere it should not. To try it yourself, go to www.nordvpn.com/moneyuncut or hit the link in the description for the exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 extra months free. It is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money back. So corporate buybacks have been bad for workers, bad for the economy, and worst of all, it's been bad for the investors. But people already knew this, and there is a reason that they simply don't care. More than a decade ago, one of these CEOs broke rank and wrote in an open letter that too many companies have cut capital expenditures and even increased debt to boost dividends and increase share buybacks. That was back in 2014, and what people thought was the peak of the buyback mania. Since then, quarterly buybacks have roughly doubled, despite interest rates being much higher, which would theoretically make businesses want to hold on to cash rather than borrowing it. But that's a problem for next quarter. By the way, the CEO that betrayed his executive comrades to raise the alarm about how share buybacks had undermined the market was none other than Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world. So yeah, it's pretty easy to blame the rise in short-term thinking on corporate executives using questionable financial strategies to make themselves incredibly wealthy. But they are really just a symptom of a much bigger problem that goes well beyond corporate America. And there are a few reasons why this is happening. The first reason is that there is now a lot more money to be made in value extraction rather than value creation. William Lazonick, a professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts, wrote about this in a now infamous paper titled Profits Without Prosperity. He noted that between the end of the Second World War and the early 1970s, most businesses became successful by creating value for consumers or other businesses. Today, that's much harder, as companies are trying to keep up with their financial commitments to shareholders. Over time, more money for research and development has come from the government instead, as companies have spent what they used to spend on R&D on pumping up their own stocks. Today, corporate profits are at all-time highs, while a record number of companies are actually losing money. This again is largely the result of short-term business planning. As companies' price-to-earnings ratios have expanded, the best way for innovators to get money out of their ideas is not actually to run a business. It's to scale a business and then sell it. With average company PE ratios were 5 to 6, that means it would take 5 to 6 years for the business to cover its purchase price. Good founders would rather stick with their business because they can make that money back pretty quickly. Today, some valuations are easily as high as 100 times earnings, so founders and early investors would be long dead before the company has had time to make more money than what they could just get by selling. Now, some of these companies could continue to grow, but a lot of them still fail. A lot of them never make any profit at all, but still make their founders very wealthy. Big existing companies don't mind this, because it lets them simply purchase the best ideas before they can compete with them, and they don't even take the risks of funding their own technical development. Even still, The net earnings of the largest listed companies in America is claiming the highest share of GDP in history, which in plain English means corporate profits make up more of our economy than ever with the exception of early pandemic stimulus. So where are these profits coming from? Well, there are only two customers left who still have money to fund these profits. The first is very wealthy people who have, so far, benefited from stretched asset values, but we spoke about them in last week's video. If there is, I don't know, some kind of shakeup that impacts asset markets, these people will cut back on their spending, which could create a bad feedback loop. Lower spending by the only people who can still afford to spend, leading to lower company earnings, leading to market drops, leading to further reduced spending. Of course, the market can stay irrational for a long time, but this is one of the risks of having too much economic activity dependent on a small group of people. But don't worry, there is a backup. The other big spender is the government, who either directly through contracts or grants or indirectly through other spending has been such a big driver of corporate profits that you probably didn't even realize that I mixed up these charts.
They're the same picture.
Through contracts, schemes, deferments, subsidies, incentives, co-investments, bailouts, financial protection programs, offsets, bonuses, grants, public-private partnerships, guarantees, and intellectual property awards, there are limitless avenues for businesses to make money off government spending. This is not to mention new initiatives like the potential cryptocurrency reserve, which will also largely benefit asset holders. But that's a whole different discussion. Now, to be fair, regardless of party, over the last 50 years, the government has become an incredibly lucrative customer. Just federal government expenditure now accounts for more than a third of our GDP, which is higher than even the total war economy of 1944. Other countries like the UK are higher, but here in America, we also have significant spending done by state governments as well, so it's not an entirely fair comparison. Business executives are not the only people guilty of looking out for their own short-term interests at the expense of wider long-term consequences. Government programs that put money into people's pockets, create employment, and promise to solve big problems are really easy to announce. But once they are operating, they are really hard to roll back, because nobody wants to be the politician laying off workers ahead of the next election. As the Zonic noted in his article, this has over time created a system of profits without prosperity. And now, even those profits are balancing on a delicate system of speculative wealth and unsustainable government spending. So yeah, I guess we gotta talk about it. The Doge Room. Now, the disappointing part of all of this is that almost everybody agrees that cutting back on government spending is a good initiative that should make businesses less reliant on taxpayer money and the economy as a whole more fiscally sound. But we have now built such a big debt-filled house of cards on such a precarious system that walking these programs back will take meticulous planning over years, if not decades, to avoid any runaway economic complications. Impulsive sweeping changes done over the course of weeks to grab some headlines is exactly the same kind of short-term thinking that got us into this mess in the first place. Realistically, the biggest source of fat that can be cut is the various cost-plus contracts awarded to companies with immense lobbying pressure. Even those cutbacks should be done slowly and carefully, and probably not be overseen by one of the biggest beneficiaries of government funding. We have asset markets reaching record stretch valuations, held up by record corporate and government debt, which can no longer rely on genuine household spending because their savings are at record lows and their debt is also at record highs. Now, this kind of short-term planning is nothing new. Human nature did not change in the 1970s. And before this turns into another episode of Angry Stickman points at historic financial data, the more important question is, what can be done about this? You should probably acknowledge that if you ever find yourself as a CEO of a major public company and you had the opportunity to secure a lucrative options package by doing a share buyback, you would probably do it. I mean, I know I would certainly do it. Executive compensation has become so generous that just 1 or 2 years of these bonuses can set your family up for generations. And if the company crashes and burns after that, it really doesn't matter. For you. Kinda sucks for the employees though. The same basic truth is true for starting a company. It doesn't need to be a viable business anymore. It just needs to shake things up that it gets it acquired. There are buyouts that happen every single day that would also comfortably set people up for life. Now, the solution to these problems are the same old boring solutions to almost every problem in corporate America. Regulate the financial fuckery that the CEOs are allowed to pull with their own stocks and control corporate consolidation. If people can only get rich slowly, then the next quarter becomes their problem again. The last big problem is that a lot of people in leadership positions in businesses or the government have become extremely old. There is no point thinking about next quarter if you aren't going to be alive for it. Buy now, pay later companies now have over $500 billion worth of debt on their books, according to estimates from industry groups. The exact number is harder to track than something like total credit card debt, because these companies are not required to record their lending practices in the same way. Either way, this is an especially concerning amount of money, because by design, buy now, pay later loans should only last 8 weeks before they are paid off in a predictable installment plan. But new research and company confessions have revealed what you probably already knew. People aren't really paying off their Klarna account. They are just using it as a new way to make their month go a little bit further at the end of their money. Most of the largest buy now, pay later companies are barely 10 years old now, but in that time, they have been able to scale rapidly thanks to a combination of generous investor funding, a tech-bro attitude towards regulations, and a service that was appealing to people who didn't want to go through a formal credit application process, for whatever reason. The argument was that these companies weren't giving out loans. They were just letting people split up their purchase into smaller payments made over a set time period. And if everything was done properly, the users wouldn't even need to pay interest. But now, after giving out quick, easy not loans to anybody who could download an app, the companies are pulling a shocked Pikachu that their not debt is not getting paid back. Now, consumer debt defaults are on the rise everywhere, but BNPL has its own risks that could make this a whole lot worse than people not being able to split up their Costco hot dog into 4 easy payments. On the surface, buy now, pay later services are not a drastically different financial product to a credit card. Both let you make purchases now and let you pay it off later. Both offer interest-free periods if you make your payments on time, and both have been embraced by companies that want to sell you shit because they make it easier to spend money you don't have. Now, it's true that both of these financing options have extremely high interest rates and fees if you don't make your payments on time. And while buy now, pay later companies tend to try to hide these risks, I hope it isn't shocking to you that delinquent, unsecured consumer debt is considered very risky, and therefore attracts a high interest rate. But for financial tools that seem so similar at face value, there is one big difference that people tend to overlook. According to data collected by the Fed, credit cards are some of the most profitable products that banks offer to their customers. Even including their interest-free purchase periods, the banks still make returns 4 times higher on credit card lending than other products like mortgages, commercial lending, and traditional personal loans. Buy now, pay later companies, on the other hand, have struggled to turn a profit at all. In fact, most of them have been making spectacular losses. According to public financials, Affirm lost nearly $500 million last year, which was actually an improvement on the year before, where they lost nearly a full $1 billion. Other companies like Afterpay, Klarna, and PayPal's Pay in 4 are harder to get data on because they are either private companies that don't have to publicly disclose their financials, or they were acquired by other companies, which mixes in their losses with profits from other parts of the business. Klarna has raised a lot of capital from the ever-reliable SoftBank to scale its business operations. The company did claim to have some quarters of profitability thanks to their creative use of AI to cut down on customer support expenses, but a lot of that was actually thanks to low borrowing costs, a generous interpretation of how reliably their customers would repay their installments, and ignoring everything else that it takes to run the business. The company's actual profit for the quarter was a nearly $100 million loss, doubling from the same time last year. In the supposed golden age of buy now, pay later, the industry leader has had to put off its IPO because it's not clear if the business is even viable. These losses are occurring across the industry despite the fact that these companies typically take a larger cut of sales from merchants and charge higher effective interest rates on delinquencies. Because, oh yeah, even if you don't personally use any of these services, you are still paying the price for them. The way that buy now, pay later companies were supposed to make their money was by charging a higher than normal merchant fee from the retailers that use them as a payment option. Mass market credit card processors like Square, Stripe, Shopify, or PayPal usually charge merchants around 1.5% to 3.5% on sales to take credit card payments, according to data from NerdWallet and the company's own information portals. Buy now, pay later companies have started charging as much as 8% on sales to average retailers, according to a report by Merchant Cost Consulting. Larger companies like Walmart, Amazon, and DoorDash can negotiate these rates individually, but those agreements are largely kept private. For many retailers, 8% represents their entire profit margin after costs and expenses on a sale, so paying that much to a buy now, pay later company is untenable. The problem is that the merchant agreements of buy now, pay later companies forbids retailers from passing along these fees to customers, so they have an option: either make no profit on sales through platforms like Klarna, or raise prices for everybody to cover this new expense. Now, the third option would be to not offer these payment options at all. But companies don't want to do that for 3 simple reasons. The first is that buy now, pay later customers are the perfect kind of customers. According to industry data, they are much younger than formal credit card users, spend more impulsively, and have purchasing power thanks to being able to split up their payments. A report published by the Harvard Business Review found that after consumers started using buy now pay later services, they were 17 to 26% more likely to make a purchase. Not only that, but their average purchase was 10% larger than it was with normal payment methods, leading to an overall increase of 30% in discretionary spending. A 30% increase in spending on non-essentials is not something that the average household can reasonably afford right now, especially amongst the groups attracted to BNPL. For people who can get access to them and use them responsibly, credit cards are an overall better value proposition. They have more flexible terms, they have better reward programs, and they can help users build up their credit. They are also more strictly regulated because they are officially classified as a debt. Buy now pay later companies have so far dodged that official classification, which means they are not as tightly regulated, which means they can give credit to people who would otherwise struggle to get it. Now, this is not to say that credit cards are some flawless financial product. They too can easily let people spend money they don't have on they don't need. But there are more rules about responsible lending. Since BNPL applications don't show up on official credit reporting records, it also lets particularly self-destructive users pull some impressive financial maneuvers. People can get a credit card and apply for BNPL loans at the same time without each of the lenders knowing about the others. They can then use their credit card to make their BNPL payments, stretching out the period between purchase and actually needing money by more than 4 months. Now maybe there is a finance bro justification about the time value of money here, but let's be honest. People are either doing this because they are incredibly financially irresponsible, or because they have no other choice. The cost of living has outpaced most people's incomes. Eventually, this is going to catch up with us. But for now, people are stretching things out for as long as they can using financial gymnastics like this. Buy now, pay later has become just another tool to delay the inevitable. According to an industry survey conducted by LendingTree, one of the fastest growing purchase markets for these services is in groceries. So yeah, it's easy to characterize people using services like Afterpay as reckless consumers. And there certainly are people being irresponsible. But a lot of this excess spending is really just people who couldn't afford to keep up. Even back in the good old days of 2023, a study conducted by the Fed found that more than half of BNPL users took on these loans because it was the only way they could afford it. So yeah, people spending money that they shouldn't or couldn't spend is a powerful incentive for businesses to accept the massive commission that these companies charge for their services.
Is this stuff regulated, or are you guys, what are you doing here?
Cards. Our plan now, I think, is
sort of
go to San Juan. We're gonna sell our ore that we're holding in our
the
cargo
spread
hold.
on these is huge. 50% commission.
For what? It's our markup for our services.
Anyway, if all of that wasn't good enough, these services collect a lot of data on their customers and act as a sales platform for brand partners, pushing deals and special time offers directly to individual consumers at specifically tailored times. In the early days of companies like Afterpay, they started out almost entirely as a sales platform, running events like Afterpay Day where partner retailers could run sales in a big online event. This has become less of a priority as the companies are now first and foremost a payment provider, but they still use it as a way to justify their business as a sales driver instead of just a fee generator. Klarna was once valued at over $45 billion, and investors didn't care as much about profitability problems because there was the potential for incredible profit if they became the default payment choice for a new generation. But that hasn't happened. The money these companies raised was primarily used to fund research and development, server hosting, salaries, and fancy offices with ping pong tables. But by now, hopefully you are seeing the problem. The money that actually got lent to people didn't come from investors in the business. It was borrowed from institutional lenders and then loaned out to customers. Now, this isn't unusual. It's the fundamental system behind all banking. But good middlemen should be able to get more from this group than they need to pay back to this group. The problem is, these services suck at lending. Picking on Klarna again, because they're one of the few companies that have had to publicly release their financials so far, they have made $182 million in interest income in the first quarter of this year, coming from people who missed payments and had to pay penalties. In exchange, they had to pay $130 million in financing costs, which sounds like they should have made more than $50 million in gross profit just from lending. Except that people who are paying interest on late BNPL loans are not exactly the best borrowers. The company also lost an additional $136 million in loans that it considers unrecoverable. This means they actually lost about $85 million in one quarter, with a generous interpretation of their consumer losses. Credit cards aren't perfect by comparison, but banks are slightly more careful with who they will lend to. Banks can also raise cash at lower interest rates from individual depositors, and they can make money on people who aren't delinquent by definition. For a business that's predatory, they kind of suck at being predatory. For particularly desperate consumers, these businesses have become an alternative to payday lenders who also have similarly low lending standards. The only difference is that payday lenders charge exorbitant interest rates that made up for the risks and then some. Buy now, pay later companies can't really do that, because that would further tarnish their reputation as a fun little alternative to #treat yourself and think about the problems later. With such huge losses from the lending side, it means BNPL companies are even more reliant on their merchant fees to keep them afloat. But companies are starting to push back on that. In order to be the exclusive provider to companies like Walmart and DoorDash, Klarna had to arrange sweetheart deals with much lower fees to these big companies. This might be a good play for taking market share, but even total domination of an unfeasible market doesn't mean much. Investors are likely to keep throwing money at these companies because if they can be the last one standing, there's the possibility of increasing margins. But that's going to come with some trade-offs for everybody else. The same way that Uber started out as a great alternative to taxis, Airbnb an alternative to hotels, and Netflix an alternative to cable, BNPL are still in the take market share phase. Eventually, these companies will need to make their service worse, and take in more revenue if they want to continue existing. For businesses, that will mean more fees for the privilege of accommodating BNPL services, and for customers, it will most likely mean more hidden ways to be forced into paying more than you really wanted to. There are really no winners here, but nobody wants to be the biggest loser holding the bag if it all falls apart. A tragically common occurrence with a lot of new business trends. In fact, buy now, pay later is just the latest symptom of a bigger investment sickness. The biggest companies that you never heard of make billions of dollars every year by inserting themselves as wholesalers, distributors, licensors, or aggregators, getting between you and the factories that make your stuff. The only problem is, everybody kind of hates middlemen, which is why entire industries have been created from the ground up to cut them out. By offering direct-to-consumer, peer-to-peer, direct selling, disruptive, streamlined outlet platform solutions to make consuming everything an easier, faster, and cheaper experience. The only problem is, it never really works. And in our venture capital-fueled rush to cut out the middlemen, we have just created even bigger ones.
I would simply put, we cut out the middleman. So we design our own frames, we work directly with manufacturers.
Yeah, we cut out the middleman and voila!
Uber on Monday said it's cutting 3,000 more jobs in a second wave of layoffs.
More and more Americans are cutting out the middleman in the prescription drug industry.
We cut out all of the middlemen. No wholesalers, no middlemen, no distributors, no importers, just direct to your front door.
So last month, the online coupon code extension Honey was exposed for basically being a massive fraud that would claim referral revenue from its users' online shopping even if they found no coupons to offer, and even if shoppers were directed to the website from another affiliate that actually did most of the work of selling them that product. They inserted themselves as a useless middleman and allegedly claimed billions of dollars in referral revenue. Now, unless you were living under a rock, you have probably already heard all about this. The original expose video has over 15 million views, and basically every major influencer on the platform has come out to call it the biggest scam in YouTube history. It's a big claim, considering large YouTube sponsors have given unlicensed mental health advice, leaked people's personal data, frozen their life savings, or misappropriated their investments. Hot take alert, but a multimillionaire like Linus not getting his referral revenue from Amazon is simply not as big of a deal as someone losing their life savings on a bank they were told to sign up for by a trusted finfluencer. Now, this is not to defend Honey in any capacity. What they did was clearly highly unethical at best, and will probably be proved fraudulent in the many upcoming court battles headed their way. But you would be forgiven for thinking that the reason it's getting so much attention from YouTubers is because the sponsor was stealing from the YouTubers themselves. The art of good business is being a good middleman. All of the biggest channels on this platform are made possible because at some point they may be able to convince you to buy something. That means they can directly or indirectly be rewarded for that through advertising. The reason this has rustled so many Jimmies is because someone beat them at their own game, even if they weren't playing fair. Now, in the interest of total transparency, this channel is just as reliant on advertising to pay our team as the other big creators. And while we don't take sponsorships from financial firms because of the potential for you to lose your entire life savings, we honestly probably would have worked with Honey if we were offered, because just like anybody else, we didn't see anything wrong with them. So alright, with that out of the way, this video is not about the Honey scam in particular. particular. It's about what it represents. If you buy something like this stylish personal neck fan off Amazon, Amazon itself doesn't actually sell the product. It just provides a marketplace and distribution services to a third-party distributor. That third-party distributor buys these products from an Alibaba wholesaler in China, who themselves work with white label suppliers who work with manufacturers. Even for a relatively simple piece of consumer junk, there were 5 middlemen between you and the person actually making that stuff. If you include an affiliate link in there, there's 6 different businesses that need to be paid, cutting into the profits or more likely raising the price of what could be a simple exchange. Consumer retail isn't even the worst example. Consultants, brokers, and fund managers and technology platforms have all built some of the most lucrative businesses in history by capitalizing on the golden age of the middleman. But why is this happening now? Middlemen are nothing new, but there are a few reasons why it's become particularly lucrative in just the last 2 decades. The first reason is we have simply mandated middlemen. The list of corporate regulations only grows longer every year, and so too do industry guidelines, best practices, frameworks, reporting standards, certifications, privacy controls, and self-imposed goals like ESG, DEI, CSR, GEP, GRC, and whatever other BS McKinsey cooks up in the new year. Some of these rules are absolutely necessary and genuinely help both consumers and workers. Some of them are just a little bit silly, and some of them only exist to make sure that a group can make money by consulting on the issues they create. Looking at you, car dealerships. But either way, there are a lot of rules that businesses have to adhere to. Out of this, it's become very lucrative to provide third-party solutions that offload compliance onto another company that is better handled to deal with it. This both protects businesses from legal repercussions and lets them focus on where they actually add value in their business. Visa and MasterCard are some of the most valuable companies in the world, and their business operates exclusively on middlemaning transactions between credit card processors like Stripe or Square, and banks who are themselves middlemen between the customer and the business that they are buying from. Businesses could just take cash or work out their own payment system. But it's just way easier to pay a few cents to Visa to process the transaction and let them handle the accounting, computing, and dispute resolution. It's also not like businesses have much of an option. When was the last time you paid in cash for anything? Log your answer in the comments below. Of course, a small group of people live and die by the Benjamins, but the vast majority of consumer spending these days is done with credit cards, debit cards, or more recently, buy now, pay later services. Beyond letting people spend money they don't have, they are just easier. Any business that didn't want to work with these middlemen would immediately make it very difficult for most of their potential customers to shop with them. Now, this isn't a problem by itself. Modern payment providers have made doing business a lot easier for everybody, and they should be rewarded for providing that service. But as things like this get more complicated, every extra step of the supply, payment, or marketing process is an opportunity for a business to gain market power and squeeze out a little bit more from consumers. Even benign payment providers with lots of competition are causing a long list of problems for consumers. But that's got nothing on what the middlemen are doing to regular workers. To kick off the new year, a lot of people have been talking about H-1B skilled worker visas. These are something we have talked about a lot on this channel before, because they give companies the opportunity to employ workers from overseas if they can't find any workers in America willing to do the same job. Those foreign workers are then dependent on their employer to maintain their residency, which makes them great employees, because they really can't quit unless they find another company willing to sponsor them. A lot of companies, especially tech companies, clearly prefer these workers because they have more staff loyalty and won't argue too hard for a pay increase. The rules and restrictions on these visas are pretty extensive, and the rules are supposed to stop companies undercutting American workers and just hiring more subservient expat workers instead. But it's really easy for big companies to get around. If you are the CEO of a tech company and don't want to pay tech developer money for your engineers, just put up a job posting paying well below market rates. When nobody wants the job, you can then claim that you need to access someone with distinguished merit since nobody in America can fill your role. It's a broken system that's not great for American workers who get undercut for jobs, expats who get exploited by the companies they rely on, and genuine immigrants trying to earn their way into the country. But it's great for your bottom line. The problem for you is that companies are only allowed to hire so many H-1B workers. So a new industry has developed where large consulting firms will hire as many H-1B workers as they can. Tech companies like Google, Meta, and X are getting a lot of attention for their exploitation of these programs. But according to the Department of Immigration records compiled by the New York Times, the largest H-1B sponsors have actually been middleman firms that bill out their consultants hourly. This report was initially published over a decade ago, but more recent data still shows that distinguished labor hire agencies have learned to game the system. This lets companies offload the legal and reputational risk of using these workers onto the middlemen consulting firms. And even with a small premium for their services, it's still cheaper than paying market rates for technical skills. But the regulations arms race is only the first reason why we have entered the golden age of the middleman. A long time ago, in an economy far, far away, the closest thing we had to businesses producing products for consumption were smiths, saddlers, coddlers, and other ye olde tradesmen. These workers made things by hand only after an order was placed with them. Given their basic tools and lack of production lines, they didn't have an abundance of goods that they had to worry about finding a buyer for. They just made enough to keep up with orders. This really changed with the Industrial Revolution, and true mass production where consumer goods could be made faster than people could buy them. Over time, the modern business model of a manufacturer selling to a wholesaler who sold to a retailer who sold to a customer started to emerge, because it worked. Before this turns into a How History Works video, every step of this process has a part to play in making sure commerce is conducted smoothly. There have been hundreds of startup companies that have sold themselves on using a direct-to-consumer model to cut out the middleman. Even the biggest direct-to-consumer startups with the most investor money like Casper Mattresses, Bonobos Tailored Clothing, Movement Watches, and Everlane Fashion have either faced significant financial difficulties, been acquired by a traditional retailer, or gone out of business entirely. The YouTube channel Modern MBA did a great deep dive on Casper Mattresses in particular, analytically pulling apart their broken business model. If you're interested in thorough business analytics, I'll leave a link to his channel below. The point is, effective middlemen don't actually make businesses less efficient. If anything, they actually make the whole process too efficient. The manufacturer's job is to make stuff as efficiently as possible. The wholesaler buys from the manufacturer in advance to make sure that they have consistent cash flows, and the retailer handles customer service and sales, but relies on the wholesaler to make sure goods are available to sell. The wholesaler may look like a useless middleman, but they are a buffer to make sure that manufacturers don't have to worry about who they are going to sell their junk to, and retailers don't have to worry about not having enough junk to sell. That's the idea anyway. Some companies are big enough that they can be both the retailer and the wholesaler, which is why Walmart and other big box stores will be able to outcompete local independent retailers. Now, eventually, these companies figured out that it's cheaper to do the manufacturing offshore, which meant supply chains got longer and more complicated, making the job of the wholesaler even more important, and potentially more profitable. Today, the only retailers that can really compete on value are major corporations that integrate wholesale into their operations, or get around it altogether. This has given them more market power over both producers and consumers because the barriers to entry into these markets has become so much steeper. We aren't living in the golden age of middlemen because there are more of them. In fact, it's actually because there are less of them. They just have a lot more power. Big companies have realized it's a lot easier to gain market power as a middleman than as someone who deals with the end consumer. Catherine Judge is a law professor at Columbia and published the book Direct: The Rise of the Middleman Economy and the Revolution Underway. In her book, she outlines how technology, globalization, and financialization have all worked hand in hand to allow a small group of companies to become middlemen in business operations that just weren't possible that long ago. In particular, she focuses on the collection of data as a tool that is uniquely useful to middlemen, because being right in the middle of operations means they can access information from both suppliers and consumers. Effectively leveraging data is an incredibly powerful tool to reduce costs on one side of the business and maximize sales on the other. Even if you ran a business that could somehow supply products with the same economies of scale as Amazon and Walmart, you would still find it incredibly difficult to compete with them because they have so much data about when to order stock, where to build retail stores and distribution centers, how many drivers need to work a particular route, when people are most likely to make a purchase, and what items should be presented to them first as they log in or walk into a location. It's all data, and being the biggest middleman in their respective fields allows them to collect more of it and use it in more ways. Other companies can purchase data from data brokers, or even use select meta-analytics provided by the big tech companies, but it's never going to be as comprehensive, detailed, or as deep as the good stuff they keep for themselves. The final point that Judge makes is lobbying power. These companies can argue for more or less regulation in the fields that are important to them extremely effectively. Votes over boring middlemen regulations barely get lawmakers to show up, let alone get the interest of the general public. So this is amongst the most effective ways for these companies to lobby. Now, the solution to this problem is the same solution to a lot of problems in corporate America. Clamp down hard on companies with too much market power, especially those that are not as obvious as the Googles and Facebooks of the world. There is one industry that has taken this middleman process to the extreme, and that is finance. Private equity and broad asset managers have become some of the most powerful middlemen in history. If you pay any attention to financial news, you've probably heard the same line every time the stock market has a little whoopsie-daisy.
$58 billion wiped off the exchange today.
$136 billion was wiped off.
$5 trillion in value had been wiped from the markets in just 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Every time green line does not go up, we are told some company or the market has lost, destroyed, or wiped out however many billions of dollars. But alright then, where does that money actually go? It might not surprise you to learn that headlines like this are written more for shock and awe than genuine insight. But the simple truth is that the money doesn't actually go anywhere, because it never existed in the first place. Sort of. If you can look beyond the flashy headlines like this and actually understand what they are trying to say, you are going to be much better equipped to make sensible financial decisions when everybody else is busy losing their minds and, if they are lucky enough, maybe even their retirement savings too. This basic understanding has probably actually never been more important than it is right now, because the stock market is breaking new records every single week. Nobody knows if or when the party will stop, but what we do know is that in this particular case, the money doesn't actually have anywhere else to go.
$5 trillion in value had been wiped from the markets in just 3 weeks.
Gold prices hit a record high on Tuesday.
The dream of owning the house with the white picket fence increasingly giving way to white picket renters.
You buy a house tomorrow if the price was right, if the interest rates were where they needed to be.
Help for the economy from Washington remains nowhere in sight.
So there are really 3 different levels of technical explanation for what happens to money during a crash. The good enough for most people level, the armchair market analyst level, and then the level that considers debt, consumption, and all the different asset markets that are getting kind of weird at the moment. Now, most people don't even get level 1 right. But I promise none of this is as complicated as the financial bros would like you to think. And actually seeing how these markets work is the only way to understand how messed up they really are at the moment. But alright, most of the time when headlines are talking about billions of dollars being destroyed or whatever, what they are really saying is that the market capitalization of a company or group of companies has been repriced. This is just calculated using the number of outstanding shares multiplied by the price the last share was traded at. So for example, Nvidia currently has about 24 billion outstanding shares, and right now those shares are trading at a price of about $170, which gives the company a market cap of $4.1 trillion. If for some reason tomorrow people decided to start trading Nvidia shares at $85, then it would have the market cap of the company, and you would inevitably see headlines about Nvidia losing $2 trillion. But they didn't really lose $2 trillion. They were just revalued using this very crude calculation. Now, technically, this could actually help Nvidia's ongoing business operations. Since the AI boom, the company has been doing a lot of share buybacks, where they will use their profits to buy company stock off existing shareholders to take it out of circulation. They're only supposed to do this when management thinks the company is undervalued. So if their stock halves in price, they will get twice as many shares for the same money, which should be a good thing, right? Well, this is assuming, of course, that they aren't just doing stock buybacks to drive up an already hyped up stock. Part of what is making the current stock market so strange at the moment is that by far the biggest net purchaser of shares in these companies are these companies. According to the Fed's Z1 financial accounts, households made net purchases of about $100 billion of stock in 2024. This was dwarfed by listed corporations that did over $625 billion worth of net buying, meaning that companies were buying 6 times more of their own stock than actual stockholders were. Now that doesn't seem great, but it's actually worse than it sounds. The whole point of a stock market is that it's supposed to be a place where companies can go and sell their shares to raise money to fund business operations. This net sales figure also includes the company subtracting from this net number by conducting IPOs. The total gross value of stock buybacks was over $1 trillion within 2024 alone. It just so happens that companies also raised about $375 billion in the same year. Now, this has helped to increase market capitalization by driving up share prices, but that's not even the biggest problem. It will actually get more important later on as we go into how assets